How we coach is influenced by how we believe learning happens. There are loads of conflicting theories out there, and it's unlikely that any one of them is completely right, or indeed completely wrong. Here's a few. We might believe that we know how to paddle, that our job is to get our learners to paddle like us, and that the way to do that is by getting them to do some paddling, and then encouraging the good things they do and discouraging the bad things that they do. This approach is all about what they do, how they behave, as opposed to what they know and what they understand. As a coach, we really don't care whether they understand what they're doing as long as they can do it. This might lead us to using lots of drills, doing loads of practice where the coach praises successful attempts. It's the paddling equivalent of learning French vocabulary by rote, and it gets called behaviourism. We might believe that our job is to help our learners understand how to paddle, to build their mental picture of what good paddling looks like. This might lead to us breaking movements down, explaining them and demonstrating them, maybe in quite a simple environment, then doing lots of practice with feedback about the technical details of what the paddlers are doing, and a chance for the paddlers to ask their questions to build their own understanding. Then, once it's working, we might step up to a pusher environment. It's the paddling equivalent of learning French by learning about verbs and nouns and grammar, and it gets called cognitivism or sometimes information processing. We might believe that only the learners themselves can know how best they should paddle. After all, their bodies will move subtly different ways to ours, and they'll perceive and understand the world differently to us. This might lead to us using lots of questions, setting lots of challenges, or even setting groups together to work out the best way to do a move. That means we'll accept lots of different ways of achieving a move without needing to define a single absolute best way to do it. It's the paddling equivalent of learning French by speaking it. This approach gets called constructivism. Maybe a simpler way to look at this is just to ask ourselves, do we know best? Are we working on a simple technique with a right and a wrong way to do it, or are we working on a more nuanced, it depends kind of move, where our role as a coach is maybe just to help the paddler find the way that works best for them? It's unlikely that any coach behaves completely in line with any single learning theory all of the time. But it's useful to have thought about what we believe. Then we can recognise the situations where our normal approach to learning isn't going to work and do something different.